Chapter 1. My Story in London. Hello, my name is Ariel. I am a student of English literature. This is my story. I want to tell you about my life story in London. I want to tell you about my fantastic teacher. You can read my story. You can learn English with me. It is a beautiful summer day. I am traveling on a train. 2 women are on the train with me. The women are sitting opposite me. They are speaking English. I don't understand much. I am studying English, but I am a beginner. I don't know many words. I began speaking to the women. I said some words in basic English. The women understood what I wanted to say, and that made me happy. I said that I want to learn English. The women told me that they are from England. They are going home from a conference. Our conversation was 10 minutes long. The next station was my station. I said goodbye. The women gave me their address and phone number. They told me that I can visit them in England. Then we said goodbye. After this meeting, I worked on my English every day. I translated texts and watched films in English. In 6 months, my English improved. It was good now, but I wanted to learn more. I went to London. I wanted to study English in London. When I was in London, I joined a school. My first lesson was on Monday. I met my teacher and other students in the class. My teacher was a young and fine lady. She was very nice and humble. We introduced ourselves and then proceeded with the lesson. Our teacher had a question for us. She wanted to know our general knowledge about the language. Our teacher told us that she could teach through a very effective method to learn English. This method was very simple. Our teacher told us that we would not have to study. We wouldn't have to read textbooks. But we would have to use English a lot in our daily lives. It turned out to be very effective for me. I did not like studying from textbooks because they confused me. Then we spoke about what is important when we learn a new language. Our teacher told us that language is a purpose and a mode of communication. We need languages to communicate. Languages help us to express ideas and thoughts. So, when you learn a new language, the best method is to use the language to express your feelings and to communicate with other people. And this is what we will do in our course. We will speak and make use of the English language a lot. Many students try to remember new words. They also study grammar rules. But these students don't use English for speaking. They study about the language, but they don't use the language. There is a difference. Of course, you need to learn new words and grammar, but you don't have to study them. You need to practice them on a daily basis. In this course, I wanted to show a very simple and effective method for how to learn vocabulary and grammar. I like what our teacher says. Our lesson continues. We spoke about our hobbies and what we like to do in our free time. We spoke in pairs or with our teacher. I enjoyed taking classes. I am really happy. This system of learning turned out to be very good and effective for me. Chapter 2. How I learned vocabulary. I went to school again on Tuesday. One of the students asked a question which was interesting for me. She asked, "What is the best way to learn new words?" Our teacher said, "There are many things you can do to learn new words. I will tell you what is statistically the most effective way for learning new words. It is reading. When people read, they learn new words in their language. They learn twice as fast as people who don't read. It is good to read for at least 30 minutes every day. I want to show you what you should do if you want to get the maximum benefit from reading, she said. First, it is very important that the book or text you read is interesting for you. It is important that you enjoy reading the book. The book can be a nice story. It can be fictional or non-fictional, whatever your interest is. Don't read texts that are not interesting for you. Chapter 3. Learning New Words and Pronunciation. You don't know many words. You can get frustrated. You always want to enjoy everything you do while using the language. It is effective to choose a text which is interesting and also suitable for your level. When you read the text and you see a word which you don't understand, you should take a dictionary and find the word. Then, you look at its meaning. This will help you understand the text better, and your knowledge of the language will increase. You won't have to write the word anywhere. The word will automatically get locked in your brain, and you will always remember its meaning. Wherever you see this word again, you will recognize it. Every time you come across a new word, you will do the same. Reading also has another great advantage. When you read, you not only learn new words, but also learn how each word connects to other words in a sentence. You can see how to link the words correctly. This way of learning new words is very effective. Try it, and you will see how fast you can learn new words. Then we continued with the lesson. We spoke about the situation in England and about the best jobs for students. This was good for me because I wanted to get a job. I wanted to do something in my spare time after school. I asked other students if they knew where I could find a job. They told me that I should go to a job center. The job center offers a lot of jobs, especially for students. This was good for me. I was happy that I knew where I could find a job. When my day at school was over, I went to the job center. I did not know what job I could do, so I asked the lady at the job center, "What is the best job for a student?" The lady told me that they had some good jobs for students. She told me that I could be a cleaner or a waitress in a cafe. I told the lady that I had no experience with these jobs. She told me that my English was good enough to work at the cafe. The training was not difficult, and I would have more chances to speak English than I would as a cleaner. She told me that I could start my job on Thursday. It was all good for me. I was happy that I had a job where I could practice English. When you want to learn new words effectively, read for 30 minutes every day. Chapter 4. The Pronunciation Problem. On Wednesday, I went to school again. There was one student in the class who was quieter than the others. He was from South Korea. When our teacher asked if we had any questions, this student from Korea said that he had a question. He said he had a big problem with pronunciation. He knew that his pronunciation was not very good, but he did not know how to improve it. He didn't speak much because he was afraid that others would hear his bad pronunciation. He said that he reads and watches films in English a lot. He understands very well, but he also wants to improve his speaking. He asked if there was something he could do to become better at pronunciation. When our teacher heard this, she said, "Okay, I will tell you something about pronunciation and how to practice it. I will also teach you techniques which can help all of you to become better at pronunciation." First, we had to look at why students have problems with pronunciation. When we speak, we have to move our mouths, she said. We have to use muscles in our mouths. The problem is that when you speak English, sometimes you use your mouth muscles the same way you use them in your native language. That changes your pronunciation. This happens to many students who learn English. Almost everybody has a slightly different pronunciation than they should have. In fact, it is not a big problem, because usually people understand what you want to say, even if your pronunciation is not perfect. However, you can work on your pronunciation and make it better with a great technique. The name of this technique is shadowing. The technique is very simple. When you do shadowing, you simply copy the sounds that you hear. When children learn their first language, they learn it by copying. They copy their parents again and again, and one day, their pronunciation becomes perfect. You can learn English pronunciation the same way. Here's what you can do. Take some videos or audio recordings that are not too fast and that you can understand clearly. Listen and copy what you hear at the same time that you hear it. That's all. Then, our teacher went to www.youtube.com and searched for the shadowing technique. She found some good videos where the shadowing technique was clearly demonstrated. We watched the video. Then, we all tried to do shadowing for about 3 minutes. Our teacher told us that shadowing is also good when you are preparing for a presentation in English and you want to have good pronunciation. Before the presentation, you can go somewhere private and do shadowing for about 10 minutes. You will see how much it helps improve your pronunciation. This was very interesting for me. I hadn't heard about this technique before. Chapter 5. Sports and School Life. When the lesson finished, I went to the school reception. I asked the lady if there were any sports activities at school. I would like to do some sports in England. The lady at the reception said, "Yes, we have a table tennis team and a football team. The football team has training today at 5 o'clock. I was very happy because sport is very important in my life. I went to the football team training. I met a lot of players from Chapter 6. New Friends. New Techniques. The players are from different countries. The players are from Brazil, Japan, Russia, Spain, Argentina, and Italy. I liked the training. I was very happy that my time in England started well. I have a great teacher. I also have some new friends from my football team. Also, tomorrow I am starting my job as well. When you want to have good pronunciation, repeat after native speakers. On Thursday, I went to school again. We had a new student in our class. Her name is Elizabeth, and she is from Italy. At the beginning of the lesson, my teacher asked Elizabeth some questions. My teacher knows Elizabeth because Elizabeth visited her class 1 year ago. It was a class for beginners, and it was only for 2 weeks during the summer holiday. When Elizabeth speaks, she speaks beautifully. Her pronunciation is very good, and she is fluent. My teacher was very happy, and she told Elizabeth, "Your school in Italy must be very good." Elizabeth said, "I don't go to any school. I learn English at home. I use techniques that I learned from you. I do a lot of reading, shadowing, and thinking aloud. I try to think more in English than in Italian. This is how I work on my English. The 2 weeks which I spent last summer in your class helped me a lot. You showed me the way. I know how to work on my English every day. This is why I wanted to join your class again. because 1 year ago, I was a beginner, and now I can speak English. I want to learn from you again." My teacher was very happy when she heard these words. She appreciated Elizabeth for her hard work. It was all very interesting for me. I already know about reading. I also know the shadowing technique. But Elizabeth also spoke about thinking aloud. I didn't know what it was. So I asked our teacher, "What is thinking aloud?" Our teacher replied, "It is a very effective technique. You have to have a strong motivation to learn English if you want to benefit from this technique. It is also good to know that for some people, this technique feels a little crazy. But when you start to think aloud, your English can improve very fast." I said, "I have strong motivation. I don't care if the technique is crazy. If it helps, I want to learn it. Can you teach us this technique?" "Okay," she said. "It is actually very simple. You think in your native language all day, every day. It is normal. Now, you can start to think in English. And when you start to think in English, you can think aloud. You simply say out loud what you think. That's all. I told you, it's very simple." "Why is it so effective?" I asked. Our teacher said, "Maybe you can ask Elizabeth. She uses this technique. Maybe she can tell you more about it." Then our teacher. I asked Elizabeth if it was okay for her to speak about her experience with thinking aloud. It was not a problem for Elizabeth. She said, "When I started with this technique, it wasn't easy. I started with very simple sentences. For example, I can speak English. It is good that I can speak English. I want to be better. I need to practice every day. I don't know many words, but I can use these words. I can say my ideas with these words. I can do this. This is great." The sentences were really simple, but at the beginning, there was one problem. My thinking in Italian was long and complicated. I was not able to say in English exactly what I said in Italian. I needed to find a simpler form for English. To think in simple English was the hardest part, but after some time, it became normal for me to think in English. Then something interesting happened. I met a man from Australia. He was on holiday in Italy. I was still a beginner, but we started to speak English. I could see that I was able to speak with him without having problems. My sentences were simple and short, but I was able to speak. I didn't translate in my head from Italian to English. After the meeting with the man from Australia, I started to use thinking aloud more. This technique helped me a lot with my speaking. I still use it every day. It is really a very effective technique. Our teacher thanked Elizabeth for her experience with thinking aloud. I wanted to use this technique too because I also wanted to get better at speaking. When you want to speak English fluently, think aloud. Advice: when you want to learn English, read, listen, think, speak. Do each activity for 30 minutes every day. Part 2. Hello. I hope you are feeling well. First, I want to remind you that there is a part 1 to this story. If you have not watched it yet, visit my channel and watch it so you can understand the whole story well. My name is Ariel. I am a student of English. This is my story. I want to tell you about my life in London. I want to tell you about my fantastic teacher. You can read my story. You can learn English with me. Chapter 1. How I Learn Grammar. After school, I go to the cafe where my job training starts. I don't know what to expect. I have no experience. I am not sure if I can do this job. When I come to the cafe, I am very surprised. It is a modern cafe which sells coffee, tea, and also chocolate cakes and sandwiches. My boss is only 25 years old. She started to work at the cafe more than 2 years ago. She has a lot of experience and she knows everything perfectly. She shows me how to prepare coffee, how to wash the dishes, and how to deal with customers. It is all new for me. I remember only about 20% of what she tells me, but then she lets me do the work. She corrects me when I make a mistake. She is very friendly, and I learn fast. After the first day at work, I am very tired, but I am happy that I have a job. The next day is Friday, and I go to school again. One student asks an interesting question. Sometimes when I speak, I am not sure if I speak correctly. I am not sure if I use correct grammar. Can you help me? What should I do if I want to learn grammar? Our teacher says, "Thank you for your question. There are two groups of students. Some students study English because they want to be able to speak. Some students study English because they want to pass an exam. For each group, the situation is different. First, I will speak about the students who need English for speaking. If this is you, you don't have to study grammar a lot. When you learn your native language, you also learn it without studying grammar. You can learn English grammar naturally by using the language. The best way to learn grammar naturally is by reading a lot. Books are written in good grammar. When you read, you learn grammar in the context of the whole sentence. I also recommend shadowing. When you do shadowing, you practice the correct grammar. You do it naturally. You don't have to try to remember anything. You only copy sentences with correct grammar. If you need English for speaking but also want to study grammar, you can visit grammarinlevels.com. This website shows what grammar is important for different levels of English. You can find the most important grammar rules for speaking there. The second group of students are those who study English to pass an exam. If you are one of these students, I recommend studying specifically for that exam. You can take versions of the exam from past years, if possible, and train with them. Of course, your exam will be a little different, but the structure is usually the same or very similar. From my point of view, the versions of the exam from past years are good training materials. Then, I recommend going to the exam only when your results in the training materials show that you can pass the exam successfully. Did I answer your question? Yes, thank you, says the student. This is good news. I don't like studying grammar. I learn English because I want to be able to speak. I don't need to pass any exam. I'm happy that I don't have to study grammar much. I like reading, and I am happy that I can learn grammar by reading books. After the lesson, I go to the website grammarinlevels.com. It is really a nice website. There are grammar rules with examples for each level. They have 3 levels. These levels are 1,000 words, 2,000 words, and 3,000 words. In the afternoon, I go to my work. It is my second day, and I can already do a lot of things by myself. But my boss helps me when I need it. I see that my work is not very difficult. Also, I can practice English when I speak to our customers. Moral: when you want to have good grammar, read a lot. Chapter 2: How I Test My English. It is Monday again, and I go to my school. Our teacher asks us what we did at the weekend. I say that I was at work on Saturday. I say that I can already do my work well. I say that I am happy when I can speak to our customers. When I speak, one of the girls in the class asks me, "What happened to your voice? You sound very different from what we heard last week. Your pronunciation is very good." I smile and say, "Thank you. I used shadowing on Saturday evening after work and the whole Sunday. I tried to speak like a native speaker. I know it's not perfect, but I also see a big change in my pronunciation." Our teacher asks if other students tried to practice shadowing. 3 students say yes. One of them is the student from South Korea. He also likes this technique. One student says that she tried the technique, but her mouth was in pain after 5 minutes of shadowing, so she stopped. She also says that she wasn't always able to repeat everything because the recording was very fast. Our teacher says, "Thank you for trying out this technique. If you do shadowing for the first time and your mouth is in pain after 5 minutes, you're doing it correctly. You need to train your muscles for this new way of speaking. It's like going to the gym for the first time. Your muscles can hurt if they're not trained. If the muscles in your mouth hurt, you can take a break after 5 minutes of shadowing and then continue a bit later. With every 5 minutes of practice, your pronunciation gets better." Shadowing also has other advantages. You practice correct pronunciation in English, and you also practice other things. For example, intonation, rhythm, and connecting words in whole sentences. I know that in the beginning, the recording can sometimes be very fast for you, our teacher says. If this happens, you can repeat only the first or the last word in the sentence. With practice, you will be able to repeat more. I say, "That is true. On Saturday, when I started with shadowing, it was difficult for me, but on Sunday evening it was easy to repeat what I heard." Then I have a question for our teacher. I tell her, "I looked at grammarinlevels.com. The website is interesting, but I don't know what level is for me." Because I don't know how many words I know, our teacher asks other students if they know how many words they know in English. It is interesting to see that nobody knows. We know that we are intermediate students, but we don't know how many words we actually know. Our teacher says, "There is a website for people who study foreign languages. You can do a test there to find out how many words you know. The test has only 2 steps, and it is really simple. The name of the website is testlanguages.com. You can do the test every month, and you can see how much you improve during that month." She continues, "If you want, you can now take your smartphones and go to that website to do the test." I am really interested in knowing how many words I know. I do the test immediately. I find out that I know 2,100 words in English. Most of the students know between 2,000 and 2,200 words. Only Monica and the boy from South Korea know 2,501 words. Our teacher says, "So, you can see that when you go to grammarinlevels.com, you should already know grammar from level 2. You can start using grammar from level 3, because level 3 is for students who know between 2,000 and 3,000 words." Moral: Test your progress every month. Chapter 3. How I Handle Mistakes. On Tuesday, I go to school again. One student asks our teacher an interesting question. She says, "I want to practice speaking with people around me, but I don't want to make mistakes. I don't want to look stupid. Can you help me?" Our teacher says, "Making mistakes is a very interesting topic. There are a lot of opinions on this topic. I want to show you what I believe is the best way to handle it. I have a lot of experience with this because I also learn new languages. For example, now I am learning Spanish. When I speak Spanish, I don't care if I make mistakes or not. The reason why I don't care about mistakes is simple. When I learned my native language, I didn't care about making mistakes. Mistakes weren't important for me. My main goal, when I use any language, is to say my ideas. That is all. I know that when I read a lot, speak, and do shadowing, my Spanish will get better and better. I know this can sound very simple, but it is my opinion. This is what I have learned after many years of teaching and learning languages. It works very well for me and for many of my students. When I speak, I only concentrate on speaking in the moment. I know 1,500 words in Spanish. That is the level of a 2-year-old child. 2-year-old children make a lot of mistakes when they speak, but they don't care about their mistakes. They continue using their native language, and when they are 3 years old, they make very few mistakes. When they are 4 years old, they usually speak very well. You can do the same. Now, most of you know about 2,000 words, so it is absolutely okay to make mistakes from time to time. When you continue using English, there will be fewer and fewer mistakes in your speaking. It is not possible to go to a higher level if you don't make mistakes. When you practice English, it is okay not to be perfect. Perfection comes with practice. All people who started to learn English started from the beginning, from the same level, from level 0. Learning languages is like learning to play a musical instrument. It needs to be trained. When you start your training, it is not perfect at the beginning, and you make mistakes. It is normal. Take it as a necessary part of your learning process. If you don't go through this period of making mistakes, you can't reach higher levels. When you continue to use English, the mistakes can go away step by step. If you want to make fewer and fewer mistakes, do a lot of reading and shadowing. When you read, you can read aloud. It can also help you make fewer mistakes in real conversations. Care only about exchanging ideas. Don't care about making mistakes. When you speak, you practice turning your ideas into words. You don't learn grammar or words. That happens in other activities. Don't worry. Everybody who learns a foreign language makes mistakes. Sometimes famous people, bosses of big companies or politicians make mistakes too. When you listen to these people on TV, you can see that they don't care about mistakes. They care about what's important, saying their ideas. You can do the same. Does it make sense? The girl says, "Yes, thank you." Moral: if you don't want to make mistakes, do a lot of reading and shadowing. Advice to enhance your language skills in English: dedicate 30 minutes each day to reading, listening, speaking. Immerse yourself in diverse materials to boost comprehension and fluency effectively.